Hello! We're doing the end of 2023 book tag video. I saw Sarah Caroli do this and I think Destiny Sidwell do this. I'm using the questions that they use because I know that there's like a couple different ways, a couple different like sets of questions to answer about the end of your book tag. So I'm going off of the questions that they had because I like their questions better. All right, so let's go. The first question is, what was the most disappointing book of the year? Honestly, I'm gonna say Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I thought that I was going to absolutely love this book. However, I DNF'd it. It's just very slow in the beginning. I don't think it was the right time for me to pick this up quite yet. I am gonna try to pick it up eventually in the new year to see if, because I want to read it, I want to finish it. But yeah, this has to be the most disappointing of the year. Next prompt, what was an underdog book? I think an underdog book for me would have to be Flawless by Elsie Silver or Heartless by Elsie Silver. I've only read the first two books in the Chestnut Springs series, but I think these are underdogs. They ended up being really good, and I thought that they were going to be kind of like, you know, cheesy romance books, like little snack reads or whatever, but they actually ended up being really good. So I think these are the underdogs this year. What was an overhyped book that you read? The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. Everyone was talking about this during the spooky season. Everyone said, oh, you have to read it. It's so good. It's so cozy. And I read it and it was just not good, in my opinion. Okay, next is a book that surprised you. I think I'm gonna say Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book, it's like I knew it would be good, but I didn't think that I would like it quite as much as I did like it. I wanted to read it because a lot of people said that it's, you know, one of their favorite books of all time. So I was like, okay, I'll read it. I'll see what everyone's talking about, but I ended up really loving this one. Book that surprised me. Your favorite book couples of the year? You know, I think I'm gonna have to go with Cade and Willa from Heartless by Elsie Silver. Usually I'm not like a huge fan of the tropes in this book, but I really enjoyed this one. I like this one better than Flawless, and I think they're definitely my favorite book couple of the year. Okay, your favorite main characters of the year. That's gonna have to go for Dex and Mosscap from A Psalm for the Wild-Built. They're, no question about it, my absolute favorite main characters of the year. So relatable, so funny, so insightful. Ugh, they're just really good main characters. New favorite author I discovered this year. I think that's gonna have to go to either Becky Chambers, who wrote A Psalm for the Wild-Built, or Travis Baldree, who wrote Legends and Lattes. These were two of my favorite reads from the year, and it's the first time ever reading either author, and I absolutely love both of these books. So Travis Baldree and Becky Chambers. What is the happiest book you read this year? I'll say it once and I'll probably say it again in this video. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I think this is definitely the happiest book that I read this year. It was so cute, so cozy, just perfect. What was the most frustrating book you read this year? I'm technically still reading it, but Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This one is frustrating because it is taking me absolutely forever to get through it and to finish reading it. It's just not as good as the first. I had high hopes, of course, going into this. It's so boring. The best book adaptation of the year? I don't believe I read any adaptations this year. What is the longest book you read this year? I read A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This book is 757 pages long. Yeah, 757 pages. That has to be the longest book I read this year. Definitely A Court of Silver Flames. I like this one. It was nice. It was sad to finally finish the Court of Thorns and Roses series, but I'm excited to move on to all the other stuff that Sarah J. Maas has written. What is the shortest book you read this year? I think that is A Psalm for the Wild Bill by Becky Chambers. This one is, I think it's only 147 pages. It's really, really short, but packs a punch. Really, really good. Your favorite covers of the year. Okay, I really like Legends and Lattes, the UK cover. I think this one is stunning. And the next book that just came out, Bookshops and Bone Dust and Bookshops, whatever. The cover for that one is also really, really pretty. This one I think is my favorite cover from the whole entire year. It's just so cute. It's called Legends and Lattes, and it looks like a little coffee shop like chalkboard sign. Like, how cute is that? A book you haven't stopped thinking about. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. A Psalm for the Wild Bill. I only finished this just a few days ago, but I have thought about it every single day since then, and I already want to do the reread. I already want to reread it. The second one, I should get the second one like next week in the mail. I already want to read this again before I get the next one. It's just so good. Cringiest read of the year. It's gonna have to go to The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. It was just too cringy. The banter was a little bit too much for me, too rom-com-y, too Hallmark movie. It's just a bit overkill, a bit over the top. An unpopular book that you loved. I can only think of Bloody Waters by Carolina Garcia Aguilera. I didn't necessarily love this book, but I did enjoy it a lot more than I thought that I was going to. Yeah, I mean, it is very unpopular. I have never heard of this book before until I got it in like a little mystery bundle from a used bookstore. I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. Okay, so next is my lowest rated on Goodreads and my highest rated on Goodreads. The lowest rated book on Goodreads that I read was Call Me Evie by J.P. Palmer. Do I agree? Yeah. I think the average rating was a 3.61, and I agree with that. I'd say that that's where this book stands. 3.61 is pretty accurate. The highest rated book I read this year was, of course, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It was a 4.63. I agree with that as well. I think that this is worth a 4.63. This was really good when I read it. Favorite book quotes of the year? I think my favorite book quotes this year are gonna come from A Psalm for the Wild Bill by Becky Chambers. Surprise, surprise. If someone comes to your table, you feed them, even if it means you're a little hungrier. I like that one. There's basically nothing savory that can't be improved by adding an onion, which true. But there was a gravity to leaving a place for good, a deep sense of seismic change. A Psalm for the Wild Bill had a lot of very quotable lines in it, and a lot of very good, like, insightful lines in it, which I enjoy in a book. Book with the most unique concept. Again, Legends and Lattes, very unique concept because it's a high fantasy book with very low stakes, where an orc named Viv wants to, hang up her sword and live a quiet life, and so she opens a coffee shop. How cute, how unique. And then A Psalm for the Wild Bill is just so unique because Dex, the main character, and Moscap is a robot. The robots wanted to live in the forest because they wanted to learn about life in the forest. And then they come back and a robot talks to Dex and is like, what do humans need? And Dex is like, dude, you're gonna have to ask a lot of people that question because it's very different depending on who you ask. Both. Again. Books you read this year that you would reread. Besides these two, because I will reread these two. I'd have to say Fourth Wing, but I already did reread that. Probably the Court of Thorns and Roses books. I only read the last one this year, but I do want to reread those again at some point. So, yeah. Goodreads reading goal reflection and 2024 reading goal. My Goodreads reading goal this year was 50, and so far I've read 36. Yeah, so far I've read 36 out of the 50 books. I set the 50 goal at the very beginning of this year, but that was pretty ambitious because when I got pregnant, it almost gave me like morning sickness to read books. I don't know why. So I pretty much didn't read anything until about June of this year. That's pretty good for only doing it for half the year. My goal for 2024 is probably gonna be 50 again. We're gonna see. If I read 36 in half of a year, then you would think that I would read more, but I'm hoping to read some more challenging books next year. I'm wanting to get more into high fantasy because right now I've pretty much, most of the fantasy I've read is like romantasy. I really want to get into like high fantasy and reading more books like that, which I don't know if it's just a stigma in my head, but I feel like those tend to be longer and they might take me longer to read. So I think I'll keep my goal at 50 for now. See where we end up. I might, you know, maybe if we're hoping, if we're being positive, then I might be able to make it bigger throughout the year. We'll see. The last question. What will you prioritize in your 2024 reading year? I think I just answered that in the question before, and that is fantasy, high fantasy. Sci-fi too, sci-fi and fantasy I really want to get into because it seems that those are the books that I rate the highest. I gotta listen to that. I want to read books that I enjoy. So I'm going to focus primarily on fantasy and I guess now sci-fi. I'm hoping to really prioritize this channel again and start on some new content. I want to do more like Norway Diaries content, life in Norway. I really like commentary videos, so I want to start doing some commentary stuff. We'll just see. I'm excited. I've already started, you know, coming up with some ideas for what to do next year. That's the end of the year book tag. 2023 went by incredibly fast, but we're on to 2024. We're on to bigger and better things, and that's exciting. And I can't wait to see you all next year. Bye.